welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are listening to the story of the silent twins. I've actually really watched a lot of different versions of this story, so yeah, let's get right into the video. If you are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you are notified every time I post a video. Let's get into it.
About these silent twins. This is Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons, and they came from Barbados to England in 1960. And then on April 11th of 1963, Gloria and Aubrey gave birth to twin girls, June and Jennifer Gibbons. What was really unique about these girls is that they had a speech impediment and they really could only understand each other. So eventually both of them decided to stop talking. These girls
I wonder at what age did they
very,
decide
very
that they didn't want to talk to
what's really
anybody.
fascinating is somehow June and Jennifer ended up creating their own language, but no one else could understand it.
How did it feel for you that people couldn't understand what you were saying?
A bit frustrating. We had to repeat ourselves.
And once the girls started school, they were actually really good students, except for they didn't talk at all. The other...
Like, what? I feel like... I don't think kids are just gonna, like, get up and just be like, oh, I don't want to... Like, they're not just gonna be like, oh, I don't want to talk to anybody for no reason. I feel like something happened to either one of them or both of them. I feel like there's something that happened in the home that caused them to decide just not to talk to anybody else but just both of them. Like, it don't make sense. Either that or they are, like...
Kids started picking on them, bullying them.
Like,
people just thought they were so
obviously, like, I knew that was gonna happen. Like, because, why do I keep saying like? Like, what is up with me and like? I knew that was gonna happen, because if there are two kids in school that just talk to just each other and not everybody else, or even teachers or whatever, it's not like a normal thing, but, like, they will be bullied because other kids are vicious and evil and annoying and really, really mean. So, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I knew they was going to get bullied at school. The minute she said that they don't talk to anybody else but themselves, that was the first thing that came into my head, that they will get bullied in school.
They freaked people out. People said that they were completely emotionless, and whenever someone tried to talk to them or call their name or get their attention, they would completely ignore them and act like they didn't exist. So their parents ended up taking them to a child psychologist, and that is where they were diagnosed with something called selective mutism. And selective mutism is a childhood anxiety disorder characterized by a child's inability to speak and communicate effectively in select social settings. So they ended up sending them to a special education school. And this school is actually a lot better for the girls. Their teachers understood that they weren't stupid. They were actually smart.
They needed to take these kids to a pastor
and that is where they
to get prayed over.
The girls were not speaking their own language. They were just speaking English, but it was very sped up and hard to understand. When they weren't in school, they would go home, lock themselves in their room, and X themselves away from society. These girls even had to eat and drink by themselves. They would not do it in front of anyone else, and their parents would have to leave them alone in order for them to eat. When the girls were 11 years old, they began to walk in sync with each other. Unless someone would walk by,
they were possessed.
And if they did, the girls would just completely stop and stare at them. And then they wouldn't
like,
start walking again until the person had left. So as you can tell, these girls really had the twin bond. And weirdly enough, this was not something that they were happy about. They weren't trying to be bratty or rebel. They said that they had no choice but to act this way. They even wrote in their diaries about how they thought it would be a good idea for them to separate. So eventually it was decided that the girls would be separated. They would move away from each other in order to learn social skills, and this way they would be able to become more independent. The move ended up being a really hard thing on the girls, and they ended up stopping eating, stopping sleeping. They wouldn't dress, and they became catatonic. And if you don't know, catatonia is a state of psychomotor immobility. So obviously they decided that they had to bring them back together. This was only making matters.
Squash my little theory of the childhood thingy. Squash that. They are possessed. Look at her. Oh my God, there's a demon in here. Abraham, come see this. Come. Oh my God. They are possessed. Like they needed some prayer, some Jesus. They needed something. Oh my God. So when they're not together, they don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't get dressed. They're just standing. Oh my goodness. Like, I don't mean to laugh, but that's scary. They were possessed.
Worse having them separated. So they went back home, back to their room, not talking.
So they didn't want to be together. They didn't like each other, but they cannot be without each other. What kind of bond is that?
And obviously after years of this, it became so difficult for them, so difficult for the people around them, and the girls became depressed. When the girls were 16 years old, they actually met another pair of twins from America. They were actually two boys around the same age, and the four of them ended up spending the whole summer together. And they kind of went a little crazy with these guys, started to party a little bit. The boys were kind of partiers. They liked to go to clubs and stuff like that. And after a while, things...
Okay, first of all, how did they become so comfortable with these boys? Because they're not talking to their parents. They're not talking to anybody else. They're basically only talking to each other and writing in their diaries. But now these boys from America, how? And now they're partying and doing all these extra stuff. What?
Really got intense with the boys, and the girls started kind of arguing over them. You'd think that these girls were really, really close and loved each other a lot, and I think they did, but they had a really toxic relationship. At the end of this summer, the boys were forced to go back to America, and this was really, really hard on Jennifer and June. And they decided that they were going to...
They just found two people that they find comfortable enough to talk to, and now they have to go. I would be depressed too. Like, damn.
Take their anger out on society, that they were going to do something bad. And specifically, they wanted to do as much damage as possible. So that October, June and Jennifer went and burned down a huge store in their town. And surprise, surprise, they did.
Sorry, I actually thought they were gonna, like, commit murders, like, around the neighborhood and stuff. When she said they wanted to, like, cause damage and stuff, I thought they was gonna, like, commit murder. Thank God. No, I mean, not thank God, because they obviously burned down somebody's business, but I'm just saying thank God it wasn't what I was thinking.
Caught, and they did end up getting put in jail. So jail was pretty much for the twins. They would be put into a cell together, but they would end up fighting and would be separated. But when they were separated, they were practically paralyzed without one another. They could barely function, walk, talk, speak, you name it. So they had to be kept together. So they kept putting them back together. And it's so weird because they literally hated each other at this point. Now, doctors at the time started to believe that maybe they were in the early stages of schizophrenia and it wasn't full blown yet. But this ended up being not true. They were in fact never schizophrenic. Doctors believed that they really needed treatment, so it was decided that they were going to be staying at the Broadmoor Hospital indefinitely. At 19 years old, the girls entered the mental health facility, and they were not happy to be there. They said that there was way too many people there. They hated it. They felt stressed out, and this stress...
Like, at this point, where are their parents? Like, I feel like their parents... Well, I don't know if they really did, but, like, it seems like their parents just basically gave up on them and just said, let the government or let the judge or let the system deal with them. Because she's not saying anything about, oh, their mom and dad and this and that, but it seems like that's what they did.
Their family as well. And for the next 2 years after that, they were kept in the hospital in two separate wards, completely separate from each other, and they could write letters. and to each other, but that was it. Eventually, the girls did start speaking,
well, they are
and
talking
they thought that this would allow them to be released, but this was not the case. Every year, they would have another court date, and the judge would rule that they'd have to stay in there another year or two.
So basically,
so
exactly what I said is
and
what
on
happened.
and on until the girls had spent 12 years in the hospital. It started to seem like the judge just wanted to keep them in there because they were different. They were strange, they're weird and unpredictable. A month before the girls turned 30, they actually were transferred to a different hospital that had kind of a more laid-back feel. But when they were leaving from the old hospital to the new hospital, Jennifer started saying how she didn't feel well. She had pain, she just felt super sick overall, and she actually told June that she knew she was going to die. Once they got to the new facility, they took her to the hospital. Shortly after she arrived, Jennifer died on March 9th. The cause of death was acute myocarditis, which is sudden inflammation of the heart. And this is something that is actually rarely fatal. So the fact that she died was super weird, and she was super young. And this is creepy, but June said when they were driving to the new hospital that Jennifer had her head laying down on June's lap and that she was sleeping but with her eyes open. On Jennifer's tombstone, it says, "We once were two, we two made one, we no more two, through life be one, rest in peace." And June actually wrote this poem for her tombstone before Jennifer even died. June stayed in the facility for about another year, and she wrote in her diary all about her sister and how she was dealing with the grief of her sister, but in a way, she was actually relieved that she was gone, and she felt like there was a weight lifted off her shoulder. She felt like she was finally free from this insanely tight and toxic relationship that she had with her sister. Now, something is obviously up with these girls. I mean, I almost think it's something from a past life or some type of curse or weird
they are cursed, they are possessed
into two people, but they are the same soul or something, because
they are
this story is so wild to me. And the creepiest part about this whole thing is that June and Jennifer actually knew that one of them had to die in order for the other to have a good life. They said that if only one of them was alive, they'd be free from suffering. It's just so weird to me. So this story is obviously bizarre as hell.
Okay, so I read from somewhere else. She actually said it, but I believe they decided who was gonna die. Both of them decided, okay, so we both know that to better our lives, one of us have to die. And both of them sat in the freaking bus and decided on who was gonna die. And then I think it was Jennifer who died, or June, whatever. One of them, well, they both decided on the person that died. And then after they decided that, she actually died. Like, the other twin didn't kill her, but she actually just died. Like how she said she died from that rare disease. She just died. Like, that is creepy. Like, how do you just decide to die and then you die? Anyways, I feel like they are cursed. They are possessed. They are... If this was an African movie... If this was an African movie, I would say their mom went to, like, the freaking water to ask the devil for a child, and this is what the devil gave her, you know? So, she didn't come up and tell us what did she do or how she got it children. Exactly. That's not what happened. I'm just saying this is what... If this was an African movie, this is how it would have went. But anyways, I believe they were possessed. I believe they were cursed. I believe they have some type of demonic spirit in them. They just probably needed some pastor to preach over them, pray over them, pour some holy water on them, you know, hit them with the cross, read the Bible, do something. Like, whatever they were doing to them, taking them from psychiatric home to another psychiatric building to another psychiatric ward. It wasn't working for them. So, yeah. This is the story of the Silent Twins. Please, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you are notified every time I post a video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there. Be good. Make good choices. Bye.